Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the JRPG Report. This is episode 256, and my name is Dalton, and joining me, as always, is my good buddy.
Hey, it's Michaela of Team Retro. What's going on, everyone?
Man, it's going pretty good. Survived another hurricane down here in Florida. Gotta love that. That's why we did not have one last week. That's my bad. No report last week, because, there was a storm coming through.
Which, no storms up here, but back to work, so I just got my rear end kicked by not even manual labor, but definitely labor of some kind.
I can imagine handling the kids and stuff is quite a task in itself. So,
well, the first couple weeks are always a nightmare with the AP kids because they have summer work, so you have to grade that, and then I give them an essay right off the bat, so I have to grade that. And they're not your typical child. They want to know how they're doing, so you have to actually be timely.
The kind of students that bother you, like, hey, have you got that grade in yet?
Oh, yeah. I have one girl that's just like, hey, why haven't you graded yet? Hey, why haven't you graded yet? Hey, grade my work. Fine.
All right.
I guess. But that means I can't play my Steam Deck at work. I gotta actually work.
Can't be playing Final Fantasy 14.
No. Game has my soul. Like, literally, it has just got its fish hooks in me. And I don't even like fishing in that game.
What? I love fishing in that game.
Okay, I like fishing in that game, but I'm very intimidated by the catch all the fish ever, and I will probably never do it.
Oh, yeah. I would never even attempt that. I just like to go out and fish.
Yeah, that I'll do. And I'm sure I'll get to a point in that game where I'll just fish, and then I'll use the fish to cook, and then I'll just sell the food on the marketplace, and I don't know. Maybe someday I'll afford a house.
I remember going out on the ocean fishing liner for my very first time, and there were some people on the boat that were like, all of you here witness the glory of, and they named their free company or whatever. And man, if they didn't do everything they needed to do for people to start reeling in like mounts and things like that, because I got the shark mount that's apparently real rare, or was real rare. I don't know about now, but
there are mounts.
Yeah, you can catch mounts out there. It's a shark that I ride on top of, and it flies. You know, because they made every mount fly now, instead of just having some that do and some that don't, which I respect it. I thought it was cool that it was like, okay, so that horse can't fly because it doesn't have wings, but now it's like that horse can fly because it's a mountain Final Fantasy.
Yeah, the horses fly, the bikes fly, everything flies.
Everything flies. You can fly too.
Everything flies. So, well, there is a mount in one of our news stories that turns you into a phoenix.
Oh, well, that's cool.
So you're not riding the phoenix.
You are the phoenix.
You are the
Coming
phoenix.
soon.
So I like to actually use that mount when I'm playing as a summoner because that seems like the best mount for that particular job class because you're summoning monsters. And I think Phoenix is one of the monsters you could eventually summon. So it just feels appropriate that you become a Phoenix when you're flying around.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. And plus, like, the Phoenix is so iconic in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, it's...
Well, they just designed a whole game, allegedly, around the Phoenix, so...
Huh. I didn't know that.
Oh, 16.
Oh, right. Right.
16 is very Phoenix-focused.
Right. I didn't think about that. I keep forgetting that Final Fantasy 16 is a thing, because it's not on PC
That's
yet.
because... I was just going to say, it's not on Steam yet. I think that's only a matter of time. If it makes you feel any better, I've barely touched it.
I mean, I hear good things. I have heard that it slightly overstays its welcome, but I think that that's just a JRPG thing these days.
I think it is too. Like, Persona 5, phenomenal game, definitely overstayed its welcome.
Persona 5 could have been about 20 hours shorter and it would have been all right. But it's still a really good game, yeah. Like, I don't regret the time spent into it.
I am reluctant to go through Royal, though, because I feel like I'm just going to do it all over again and then some. And I know there's extra story and stuff there, but...
That's what I'm doing right now for the show. For Steam Machine.
Oh, it's a long game.
Yeah, we're doing it in the background. That was our year game.
Yeah. So you're going to have the episode on that in December.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to take maybe the entirety of December or maybe the last half of December and dedicate those last 2 weeks to just Persona to like go ahead and get in those last time with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I'm looking forward to it. I always like hearing the three of you rant.
Yeah, there might be 4 of us on that episode because surprisingly, Jeremy is relatively close, if not beaten, Persona 5.
Really?
Yeah, he's been playing it. He was like, I'm going to play this and be on the episode. And I was like, word?
Okay, Jeremy.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Why not? That's right. He did mention on the Apps Pod that he was trying to plug his way through that.
Yeah, and I think he ended up enjoying it more than he thought. Because I originally sold it to him, and I'll sell Persona to anyone like this. If you like the concept of Pokemon but wish it was more for adults, give Persona a shot. Because it's a very much an adult-oriented monster raising game type. Like, I mean, whether it wants to admit it or not, it's kind of what it is. You know, so...
I think so, too. It's a very dark game.
Yeah, like look at the way you summon your Personas in Persona 3.
Don't you shoot yourself in the head? That's what I thought.
Exactly what you do.
Which, all the trailers for the remake of that game are not showing him shooting himself in the head, which really concerns me that they took that out.
It makes me wonder if they took it out or if they are just avoiding that in marketing so it doesn't cause an uproar by people that don't already know that that's a thing in the game.
That's also
you know what
possible.
I'm saying? The Karens on Twitter. You know how they go.
Yep.
We've all seen it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Back when I worked at GameStop, they were aplenty.
Oh, I can only imagine. Like, Grand Theft Auto game comes out. Lord.
I would always tell them, I'm like, listen, you do understand what's in this game, right? Like, it's written right there on the back. There is violence. There is nudity.
It's gore.
Your kid is 7. Just make sure you are aware of that. Oh, yeah. It's fine. Okay. 48 hours later, this game is too violent for my kid. No, really? You think?
Almost like we had this discussion, lady. Or gentleman. Either one.
It's usually a lady. The gentlemen are a little bit more strict about it. Because I remember someone came in to buy Smash Brothers. Like original N64 Smash Brothers. This is back in my Toys R Us days. And I showed them the back, like, just so you know, it's a teen rating. And they're like, well, why? I'm like, well, the characters are cartoony, but they are hitting each other. They are hurting each other, so they gave it a teen rating. And the mom looks at the back of the box, reads the label, looks at the kid, says, go pick something else.
Wow.
I'm like, and that's not even that bad. Like, original Smash Brothers was just way too cartoony, but... good on that parent.
Yeah. And then you have the people who like a friend of mine who grew up, she wasn't allowed to play anything with sorcerers or wizards or anything like that. So there was a lot of games that she was shut out from until she got older. And I was like, wow, that's interesting too. But that's a whole other topic. It's a whole other topic.
No, there was a kid growing up that was not allowed to play Magic the Gathering, so he had to keep his deck at his friend's house. Because if his mom caught wind that he was playing anything with sorcery and black magic and all that, like just of course he played black, you know, the one card with the big like death symbol on it. And I probably would too if I were forbidden to play that game, but my parents didn't really care all that much about all that stuff. They were religious, but they knew where the line was.
Wait, my dad was a gamer. Like the NES and the Sega Master System that I have were his. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, he had a conversation with me when I was younger. He's like, you realize that these are fake. He's like, everything that happens in these are fake. It's just entertainment. You're not supposed to recreate the stuff. And what happens in the stuff isn't real. Are we cool? And I was like, yeah, we're cool. He's like, all right, let's play some Star Tropics.
Nice.
And then like, you know, and that's when I first played Phantasy Star back in the day. You know, one of the OG JRPGs in my life. The OG JRPG in my life, actually. First one I ever played. One of the hardest games I've ever played. To this day, Phantasy Star 1, if you don't play one of the updated versions of it, if you go back to the Sega Master System version, I hope you have graph paper.
Ooh.
And I hope you have a notepad to write down quest stuff, too. Like,
I was just gonna say I should probably emulate it, and now I'm like, maybe I don't want
So check it out. I can even send you. I can. Yeah, I'll send it to you. But I have a version of the Phantasy Star. I don't remember if it was like an anniversary collection or whatever that they did for PlayStation 2. That was only available in Japan, but people have fan translated it and fully patched it into English. And the way it plays, so if you were to emulate it on one of your mini handhelds, and this is something you could even show off on YouTube if you like, my good sir, go check out Team Retrogue on YouTube. It gives you like the screen in like a 4x3 screen here, and then it's got like a border thing with your party stuff, but it gives you a mapper.
Okay.
Which really helps. It really helps. And I learned to, from reading some guides and stuff, people were like, you do not expect to start this game and be able to go to like point A to point B immediately. They were like, when you walk out of that first town and you get right there in the beginning, walk back and forth, fight a couple battles, walk back to town, heal. Like, it is like, OG, you need to grind. But it's a great game.
That's part of the fun of those old games.
Great game. Yeah, dude.
Like, Dragon Warrior and the original Final Fantasy prided themselves on being level gated.
Absolutely. And now that we're doing the where we're including RetroArch as a possibility for the Steam Machine podcast, because it is now technically available through Steam, even though I don't use the Steam version of it. I use the standalone personally. It's just more configurable. But if, like, say you had a Steam Deck and you don't have access to modding it, you could download RetroArch. But then again, I guess if you were going to put ROMs on it, then you would already know how to... never mind.
I was going to say, for the Steam Deck, there's a program called EmuDeck, and that just kind of does all the work for you. And it's free.
Oh, well, there you go. Even better.
Very little configuration, too. It's kind of magical.
But yeah, I want to throw some of the older Phantasy Star games at the boys. And technically, we only need RetroArch for the first Phantasy Star, because Phantasy Stars 2, 3, and 4 are available in that Sega Mega Drive collection that's on Steam.
Right. I have that, too. That's a great little collection, just because of the way they let you pick the games. I actually they put you in a room, like an old 80s room with posters of like Golden Axe and all this cool stuff. And then on the right of your CRT television, with your Genesis underneath it, is a just wooden open bookshelf with a bunch of like Genesis games just on their sides. And you literally go through them, you pick the one you want, and it shows an animation of the disc or the cartridge going into the Genesis, and then it goes right up to the television and zooms in and starts the game.
Yeah, which also in VR is super cool, because you're like in that room. And you're just chilling in front of the CRT and stuff. It's really cool.
That's some Ready Player One sorcery right there.
What's cool about that too on Steam, at least, is if you go to that collection on Steam and start looking through the mods for it, people have, quote, modded in so many other Genesis games that you can just grab from the workshop, and it'll be like, this is a mod. So I'll say Vector Man. It'll be like insert Genesis game here is available. It's now, so now then you would scroll to Vector Man and hit the Y button for mods, and it would bring up the games that are considered, quote, mods of Vector Man, either though they're not, they're just other games.
Oh, okay.
Or there's also like, you can find like versions of like, say, Phantasy Star 4. There's like a hard mode version, which is like a hard mode ROM for it, or an easy mode. And those types of things too. So there's all kinds of stuff that I think is pretty neat.
That's some cool stuff. I didn't think there were mods for that game. I just kind of use it as a Sonic machine.
That's what I think Nate does for it with it too. I don't think he's got the whole collection. I think he's just got the Sonic part, but I could be wrong.
No, I think it's only a one-off. I think you just buy...
No.
You buy it once and you have all the games. Unless we're talking about a different collection.
Well, the Sonic that collection, you can, like, on the Steam store, you can go and you can just buy it. But if you scroll down, like, each game in the, like, quote, DLC section, you can buy each game a la carte for like 99 cents.
Oh, okay. Capcom Arcade does the same thing. They have They give you like Street Fighter 2, and then everything else, if you want it, you got to buy it. Or you could just buy it all at once, and it's like $30, so it's not terrible.
Yeah, but so if you're listening and you don't have the Sega Genesis collection or the Mega Drive collection, whichever one you prefer to call it, there are some good little JRPGs in there. Beyond Oasis, I believe, is in that collection. So like definitely like dip your toes in, check them out. I think there's a few Golden Axes in there as well.
I'm going to throw out a shill again for Ys, because if you have a PSP, Ys 1 and 2 collection is probably the best way to get into that series if you want to start from the beginning. Like, original Ys, I think, might have been on the NES or something like that, but nah, don't play that one. Play the PSP one. Gives you a nice little graphical update, and the soundtrack is just banging.
For sure. And I do believe Ys 1 and 2, I think that's on PC as well, isn't it?
Is it?
Let me see, because I know I have all the Ys games. Well, no, excuse me, not all of them, but I have a lot of them on my... Yeah, I have Ys books 1 and 2. It's called the Ys 1 and 2 Chronicles Plus.
Yeah. Oh, see, for PSP, it's the same thing, just without the plus.
Huh, okay. Yeah, I've got those. I got Memories of Celceta, Ys Origin, The Oath and Felghana, and The Ark of Napishtim, and Lacrimosa of Dana.
Physical copies of those games, except for 8 because it's new, they're astronomical.
Oh, man, and I want them too. And that's the sad part. Is like, I'm not one of those collectors where I'm like, I need every game for every system. But like series that I hold near to my heart, I would like to have the physical collection of them. And some of them, it just breaks my heart. Like Nate sent a picture the other day of Persona 2 Eternal Punishment for PlayStation 1.
Oh, jeez. At
the store he's working at. And I wrote him back and I said, how much is that? Like, is that something like you could pick me up and I'll pay you for on payday? And he writes back, I think he said it was like $329.99. And I went, never mind.
Oof, no.
Never mind.
No.
Oh, boy, that's expensive. I was like, man, as much as I love Persona, I'm not going to drop over $300 for one game that I can just emulate. No offense.
One of the worst decisions I ever made as a human was to sell my copy of Pokemon Box for the GameCube that I bought in New York City because that was the only way to get it. So I took a train from Connecticut to New York City one day, and I went to it was the Pokemon Center at the time. It's the Nintendo store now. And I bought Pokemon Box. And I sold it. And I want to say I sold it for a good, like, $200 at the time. It contributed to my needing to pay bills right before I got my first teaching job. Now, guess how much that game is worth?
$1,500.
You got it.
Really? Oh, man. Oh, brutal, dude.
That's not even complete.
Brutal.
So, when I was at RetroCon a couple of weeks ago, I found a Japanese copy of it. And it was $50. And I bought it just for the sake of it.
Yeah, just to be like, no, I'm gonna look at this and remind myself.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It is a reminder that at a certain point in my young life, I done messed up.
I tell you, I keep looking into how much some of my older games are worth. And it never ceases to amaze me that they keep slowly creeping upward. Phantasy Star for the Sega Master System and Chrono Trigger for the DS. I think we talked about this on a recent episode where it's like Chrono Trigger just
we did talk about those,
up.
Because, I talked about how I had Chrono Trigger complete in box and I sold it like an idiot. And I ended up spending $70 to rebuy it, just the cartridge.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to put out there in the ether again, if you're listening. If you ever see a Phantasy Star for the Sega Master System instruction manual booklet that came with the game, and it's a relatively decent price, snag it and hit me up and I will buy it from you. Because I want that to be complete in box and I'm only missing the instruction manual.
I did look for you too when I was at RetroCon. They actually had vendors that just had instruction manuals and they had them like set up alphabetical order. You just flip through them like you would a card catalog in a library. I know people listening have no idea what that is, but you flip through them and you picked out the ones you needed, and no, it was not in there. Surprisingly, what else I couldn't find was a Pyramithra amiibo. And those just came out. And I'm like, I know it's going to be con price, but if I see one, I'm going to snag it. I didn't see it. Not there. Blew my mind.
I've never been to a con. I would like to go to
Any
one.
con?
I've never been to one.
Any con? Ever?
Nope. I've never had the money to
one?
be like, I'm going to go to a con and buy some stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I would say there's a 90s con coming up in Tampa in a couple of months, but that's mostly just for celebrity autographs, and yeah, you don't want to pay for those because they're expensive.
That, and it's like, is there going to be somebody there I'd really care to meet? Like, if there's like an old wrestler, I could shake their hand and be like, hey, I appreciate the entertainment for all the years, but other than that, like, unless like maybe David Hayter. I'd like to...
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'd like to meet him one day just because he was Snake, and that's just a part of my childhood.
Charles Martinet is probably going to eventually come around to some Nintendo function somewhere.
The Mario guy that just quit?
Yeah. He's the quote-unquote ambassador now.
The ambassador of Mario.
Yeah. Which means basically Nintendo's paying him just to go to conventions and talk to fans, and he gets to travel.
Oh, man, I wish I had a gig like that.
Right? I mean, I could do a decent Mario voice. Why can't I make millions?
And one more thing before we get into the news. So I've been going through, so there's this channel on YouTube. I don't remember the name right offhand. But they have these like compilations of X-Play. Do you remember X-Play?
Oh, I remember X-Play.
And I've been really enjoying what I watch of them, except, dude, they are brutal towards almost every JRPG that they talk about. And I am just like,
Really?
I don't get it. And now I'm kind of understanding that article that came out where they were talking about for a while there was a stigma about JRPGs, and that like developers over there didn't like that term because things like X-Play, anytime there's a new Final Fantasy game, they're like, dude, it's just another Final Fantasy game. Why do you guys care so much? Like, and then they're like, all right, but here's up next, Call of Duty. And I'm like, get out of here.
Ugh. You know, I remember watching a video game award that was on G4, and it just made me sick. I had to turn it off because it was literally nothing about it that had anything to do with video games other than occasionally they would dish out an award to a shooter of some kind. And I just couldn't do it. I turned it off like, I don't know, a quarter of the way through. We're talking like, I don't know, dancing girls that were just on the stage just to be there for eye candy, and it was so not video game related. It was weird.
It's almost like they lost focus. It's like, yeah, gamers like hot chicks, so we're going to put a bunch of hot chicks on here instead of games. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it had nothing to do with games at all. It was all like just a big joke. Like, I almost thought it was a Saturday Night Live skit at some point.
Yeah, it's sad. I never did see any of the reboot. I had high hopes for it, but apparently,
It was not enough.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I don't know, you don't really need a whole cable channel dedicated to video games. You could just look this stuff up online.
Yeah, not the way the internet
I think
is.
that's true for pretty much almost anything. Cable is kind of for old people
Going
now.
the way of radio.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, though, let's get into some news, my good sir.
So, hope you guys enjoyed the Talking Head segment.
Yeah, just get out the banter. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
So, up first, I only put this in here because it strikes me interesting because I feel like Honkai Star Rail just came out. But HoYoverse uploaded a new gameplay showcase trailer for urban fantasy free-to-play RPG Zenless Zone Zero over the weekend. That was a heck of a sentence to say.
I'm glad you're reading the story.
First aired on the show floor at Gamescom 2023, the roughly 6-minute sequence shows the player visiting some of New Eridu's neighborhood shops and side activities before beating down a massive boss monster. The new trailer focuses more on individual shop activities in their New Eridu neighborhood. The player character visits the ramen stand to obtain a buff for the next mission, and then pays a visit to the Bardic Needle, a music store where players can do, quote, drive tuning. Let me just go ahead and say, a music store named the Bardic Needle. I love that.
I like that you can eat ramen to get your buffs. But then I do love games where foods give you buffs in battle. Yeah. I find it's a nice touch. Like, yeah, I have to go out and do this crazy thing, but let me go eat something first.
Yeah. Let me go out there on a full stomach so you got some energy. Kind of like translation.
Yeah, exactly.
Drive tuning appears to be randomized gear acquisition system. A brief session at the Godfinger arcade showed off minigames similar to Mr. Driller and Snake. After returning to the random play video store that serves as home base, the player then accesses the computer to, quote, deep dive into the hollow area, controlling a team to fight a large enemy. The team this time consists of characters Soldier 11, Nakomiya Mana, and Von Lakiona. As shown, the combat seems to be similar to the real-time character action style of Hoyo vs. Honkai Impact III, but using character swapping character swapping and assist calls as an even more integral part of the system. Characters swap in and out of repeatedly and instantly, and often swapping is a way to intercept an enemy attack. They also synchronize fancy ultimate attacks and use chain ability executions to drive up what looks like a score or damage multiplier. The trailer is of a piece with the lengthy Zenless Zone Zero TGS 2022 trailer, which followed a full quest line and featured cinematic cutscenes. Zenless Zone Zero is in development for PC and mobile platforms, but does not yet have a release window.
So Hoyoverse has their exploration game. They have their turn-based RPG game, and this almost seems like this is going to be their Monster Hunter-like game.
That's what it kind of sounds like.
Because you're getting food buffs, you're upgrading your gear, and then you're going into you go into a hub or whatever, and you fight stuff. So I wonder if it's just going to load into a battle and you just fight, or if you're actually going to have to like navigate a landscape. Because in Monster Hunter, you have to navigate a terrain. It's not just a matter of loading in and fighting the monster. It's a matter of figuring out the terrain and all that stuff. Figuring out where it lives, and I wonder if this is going to do that.
I remember dipping.
It'd be cool if it does, but
I remember dipping my toes into and I think we've had this conversation too, but I remember dipping my toes into Monster Hunter World. And it was cool. Yes, we
did have this conversation.
But alone was kind of meh, so.
Yeah. I find that you go through the story alone, but then you're going to hit a point where you don't want to play it unless you're playing it with people.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll let you tackle the next one.
All right. Original Persona feature phone game coming to Switch and PC. Fans of old Japanese feature phone games will be getting a new classic to play on modern platforms. As reported by Gamatsu, publisher Gmode announced that it will port the Atlas-developed Megami Ibranoko Persona Iku no Touhen to Switch and PC as part of its Gmode Archives Plus line. The game will be sold via the Japanese Nintendo eShop and via Steam in Japan, although it doesn't have a release date as of yet. Originally released for Japanese feature phones in 2006, the game was a spin-off of the original PS1-based Persona title. It's set during the original game and immediately following the party's battle in the SEBEC building, when the protagonist and his companions are transported to an otherworldly tower. They're instructed by Igor to climb the tower in order to obtain a device that they'll need to return home. Though formatted for phones of the time and featuring a squarish screen aspect ratio, the game featured many of the gameplay elements of its console-based original. These include the turn-based combat system, 3D dungeon crawler-style exploration, and demon negotiation. This game is in development for Switch and PC in Japan. An enhanced release of the original Persona game for PS1 was released in 2009 for the PSP. So, the original Persona game, I've never really played it, but they did make an interesting decision to put it on the PSP Classic when that came out a couple of years ago. And
hold up. Hold all the way up. There was a PSP Classic? Or no, the PS1 Classic.
There was a PS1 Classic. I'm sorry, did I say PSP?
Yeah, and I was about to say, whoa, what, really? Okay.
No, if there was a PSP Classic, I'd be all over it. But no, PS1 Classic, I'm sorry. No, they put the original PS1 version on that, which it was an odd choice, but they did it. But if I were to start this series from the beginning, I would go for that PSP version all day.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know. PSP is, I finally got my hands on one too. This little thing,
it's so small.
Something so small, and it's got a beautiful IPS 16:9 screen, and just games looked good on it even back then. This one's covered in dust because I haven't touched it yet. I'm fully planning on modding this bad boy, but
Yeah, I have Trails in the Sky on mine.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about these systems. They're just charming.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's the best way I could explain them. Is they're just charming.
I agree.
That's a relic of an older age, but this is kind of.
No,
go ahead.
I was just going to say I don't think this is ever going to come out in America. If this was a spin-off game that came out in Japan only, it's probably going to stay in Japan, unfortunately. But still, I thought it was cool. You know,
I mean, for the perspective of video game preservation, they're basically re-releasing a mobile game that you just can't get anymore.
Yeah.
So at least I don't know who's going to play it, but they care enough about it to not let it go into the video game ether.
Yeah, two of my favorite phone games of all time were both by the same developer. And then when that developer shut down, both those games went into that ether and you can't play them anymore. You can download the APKs to them and load them up and see those nostalgic screens in the beginning. But when you try to load into the game servers, it just doesn't let you.
I really hope someday that these defunct mobile games just have some fans that can afford to maintain a server and they just figure it out themselves and let us play them again.
Yeah, I mean, I have one on my phone called Tap My Katamari. That was a Katamari Damacy game, but it was just a tapping game. And I ended up finding an APK for it, and you can still play it. You just can't do like the video rewards and the things that you need to watch stuff, but you can play it. So like, it's fun. I load into it and just let the soundtrack play sometimes. Yeah, it's just so good. I don't really care about the gameplay itself, but yeah. So there's some that are still available. You just have to find workarounds for them.
Curtindo podcast, né? Sabe o que você também vai curtir? Saber que o melhor flip de todos os tempos chegou. O novo Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6, com Flex Cam, que tem zoom automático e faz selfies de 50 megapixels e com bateria estendida para nunca te deixar na mão. Vá a uma loja ou saiba mais em samsung.com.br. Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 6. Galaxy AI chegou.
Hope that you don't get an APK with some shady stuff in it.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very cautious when I'm looking at APKs for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree.
And
there was a while where Pinball Arcade for Android just kind of disappeared, and nobody knows why it disappeared. But thankfully it came back. But I was really nervous that I was not going to be able to play a couple of my pinball games ever again on something that runs Android.
Hey, that would be a bummer.
So, yeah, mobile games, I love playing them, but they scare me with their mortality.
Oh, yeah, especially you see all these games coming out and they do well for a year and then they get shut down.
Final Fantasy VII just came out with one. Or I should say Square Enix just came out with a Final Fantasy VII mobile game that's supposed to like take you through the story of Final Fantasy VII, but it's a gacha, and that makes me nervous because I know they tend to maintain their games, but how invested do I want to get in it when I already know the story of FF7 and this could shut down someday?
Yeah, I try to remind myself of that about MMOs too, because those go the same way. It just takes longer.
Thankfully, the ones that I'm into are kind of the ones that are
long-standing,
have been around for like 10, 20 years, so they don't seem to be going anywhere.
Let's see.
All right.
So,
do you want me to read this next one?
No, I'll get this next one.
All right.
So, publisher Side Games and developer Side Games Osaka have released a 6-minute gameplay video of the Gamescom 2023 demo of action RPG Granblue Fantasy Relink. If you missed it, Gamatsu recently published an interview with Granblue Fantasy General Director Tetsuya Fukuhara and Granblue Fantasy Relink Director Yasuyuki Kaji. Here's an overview of the game via Side Games. A grand adventure waits in the skies. Form a party of 4 from a diverse roster of Skyfarers and slash or shoot or hex your way to victory against treacherous foes in this action RPG. Take on quests solo or with the help of others in up to 4-player cooperative play. Granblue Fantasy takes place in the Sky Realm, a world where myriad islands float in a great blue expanse. That's a cool sentence. Take your role as captain of a skyfaring crew joined by a scrappy little dragon named Viren and a young girl with a mysterious power named Lyria. Together, you sail with a colorful cast of crewmates, including kings and misfits alike, for Estelucia, a fabled island beyond the end of the skies. Man, what a cool premise. In the Zega Grande Skydom, islands are guarded by powerful creatures known as primal beasts, and winds carry tales of a secretive organization known as the Church of Avia. Unveil a web of intrigue reaching far beyond the borders of Zegra Grande and engage in a battle for the fate of the Sky Realm itself. Engage in real-time combat with a party of 4 in this character action RPG. Choose from a diverse roster of Skyfarers, each with their own unique weapons, skills, and combat styles. Teamwork makes the dream work, with party-based mechanics such as link attacks and chain bursts to help you crush foes in spectacular fashion. Tackle quests solo, or with the help of others, with up to 4-player cooperative play, and take down treacherous foes to score rare loot to further enhance your gear. Every enemy and party formation has its own strengths and weaknesses. The key to victory lies in working out how these pieces fit together. While listening to Schism by Tool, they'll teach you how the pieces fit. Ha 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 ha.
Oh, you're not even a dad. What's up with the dad jokes?
Just being prepared. Fast-paced combat, not your thing? Assist modes can provide accessibility for gamers of all skill levels. Toggle on full assist and have all actions performed automatically during battle. The Sky Realm is rich in lore and history. Browse Lyria's journal at any point during the game to access a trove of writings on the world's people, places, and more. In addition to the wealth side of quests available, Faith's episodes will allow you to delve into the backstories of each of your member of your crew. Granblue Fantasy Relink is due out for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and PC via Steam February 1st, 2024. So that sounds cool to me. I might have to check that out.
It sounds cool to me, too. We were just talking about Monster Hunter, and again, this sounds like Monster Hunter. But instead of picking your weapons and your armor, you're picking your characters. And they'll have backstories. So I think it's going to be a little bit more meaty than, say, Monster Hunter, because you're actually going to have some story in there to go with your fights and your characters.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're all different.
It might be a nice mishmash of Monster Hunter meets Genshin.
I was just thinking that exact same thing. And the thing about Genshin is it's a gacha game. Here it sounds like you just have access to the characters from the get-go, and you just can pick whichever one you want.
Yeah.
So if you get emotionally attached to one, you just roll with it, make him or her stronger.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's no permadeath. That would suck.
That would be awful.
I don't know enough about Granblue to know if permadeath is a thing, but this looks like a pretty good entry point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So I'll let you take the next one, my good sir.
All right. Wandering Sword launches September 15th. A new trailer is released at Gamescom 2023. It's a Wuxia-style RPG, Wandering Sword, will launch for PC via Steam on September 15th. Publisher Spiral Up Games and developer The Swordsman Studio announced. So, an overview of the game via Spiral Up Games. I'm going to try to do the Dalton voice here.
All right.
I'll get a little bit closer. As a young Pugliese, gamers traverse across ancient China to escape enemies. They will meet new acquaintances and forge new friendships. They will go on quests to help the weak and resolve misunderstandings, while strengthening their skills as a martial artist to eventually leave their mark on China's Wuxia history.
I only have one quick edit.
Go ahead.
Pugilist, sir.
What did I say?
Pugilist or something like that? Or Pugliest, or I don't know, but it's Pugilist.
Pugliest is a punchy guy.
Punchy guy.
He punched things.
Yeah, punch man.
He punched things.
Punch man. One punch man.
One Punch Man. So, key features. Traverse ancient China, painted in beautiful pixel art. And actually, if you look at the article, at some of the screenshots, it looks pretty much, it's got that 2D HD Octopath Traveler look. Yeah. But the artwork does look gorgeous.
It looks beautiful.
And it's developed in Unreal Engine. Uses beautiful pixel art. Oh, I can't talk tonight. When can I ever? To showcase an open world with bustling ancient Chinese towns, scenic mountains, picturesque rivers, dangerous lairs, treacherous terrains, and more. a vast library of martial arts moves and weapons. As you explore the lands, you will discover hundreds of martial arts forms and weapons to master and wield. You will learn how to cultivate your energy through meridian points and become an expert of both the external and internal forms to gain true mastery of martial prowess. Innovative combat system. Combat is conducted on a tiled board, and a unique point is that it allows gamers to switch between turn-based mode or real-time mode during combat. That sounds really cool.
That does sound cool.
The turn-based mode will suit gamers who prefer the traditional way of playing slower-paced RPGs, while the real-time mode will appeal to players who like to think on their feet and dish out attacks as quickly as their fingers can move. The NPCs in Wandering Sword are programmed to simulate how actual people would behave in real life. As you traverse the pugilistic world and revisits friends and acquaintances, you will notice that they've been keeping themselves busy with their own adventures and martial arts practice instead of idling around. Wandering Sword offers great replayability. Different choices you make will lead to different endings for the game. There are also a great number of side quests you can opt to take on besides the main quest, which will provide many hours of adventure time.
Man, okay, listen. I already have Persona 5 Royal to get through. I've got WrestleQuest, which is a wrestling JRPG that is fantastic for those who haven't checked it out yet. I have Sea of
I'm
Stars.
actually featuring that.
Are you?
Oh, Sea of Stars too. Yeah, I actually put some footage in my latest video of WrestleQuest.
Nice. It's fun. I mean, I haven't gotten super far into it, full disclosure, but I've had a blast with it so far.
Me neither, but what little I've played is really good.
Hilarious.
It's hilarious. It's a great battle system, by the way.
Yeah, I agree. It's really fun. And then there's Sea of Stars. And now in 5 days, this game's going to come out on Steam. And I'm like, well, I want this too. Oh, man. My wallet. And I want Starfield. Man, come on.
The problem with being a JRPG fan and working on a JRPG podcast is these games are long.
Yeah.
And there is just no way in a lifetime that we'll ever get to try every single one of them, but they all sound phenomenal.
Yeah, it's killer.
Yeah.
It really is. And with doing, like, it would be more possible if I just converted the Steam Machine podcast into a JRPG show, but they would never be down with that.
No. And
that would kind of ruin the flow of the show anyway.
Yeah, variety is the spice of life, too. You don't want to have all JRPGs.
Yeah.
But that's just a problem with RPGs in general. You take one, you focus on it, you spend forever, and then move on to the next, I guess.
Dude, I sank, like, for instance, and this isn't a JRPG, so I apologize, but I sank so much time into Baldur's Gate 3 when it first came out, and I just haven't let myself open it up again. Because I'm like, no, I'm just going to fall in and play another 40 hours of it, and I have to play these other games.
That's my problem with Final Fantasy 14 right now. I did buy Baldur's Gate 3, by the way. Haven't opened it yet, but I bought it.
It's a big install.
It's a big install.
So is Starfield, apparently.
But Starfield, I think I'm going to play on cloud, as weird as that sounds.
Have you already talked to him? Is Barrett going to hold you up?
Say that again?
I said, have you already talked to him about is Barrett going to hold you up?
Oh, Barrett?
Yeah, you're going to play it on cloud?
I think there's a character named Barrett in Starfield.
No, I'm making a Final Fantasy VII joke. Cloud Barrett.
I know you are, and I'm choosing to ignore it, but I think there's actually a character named Barrett in Starfield.
Whoa. If they don't put random characters in where he's cursing, I'll be disappointed.
I prepare for disappointment. I don't think it's anything like the Barrett we know and tolerate.
But anyways, yeah, this Wandering Sword game looks really cool. And I like that it's kind of a Chinese-based story. You know what I mean? That's cool. Like that, I feel like most of the time, and I know there are some Chinese RPGs, like I have Sword and Fairy that I'd really like to get into. But a lot of the times, like the Chinese mythos gets gated behind like Dynasty Warriors and Romance of the Three Kingdoms and things like that. And those games are great, don't get me wrong. But I also think that those stories could be told really well through JRPG means.
And instead you end up dealing with them through massive fighting games, which I know Dynasty Warriors is kind of an RPG in its own right, but it's kind of not.
The later incarnations of it definitely lean more towards RPG, especially when you get into like the Empires version of the game, which are my favorite versions. When Dynasty Warriors comes out, I always like play it, but I'm just waiting for the Empires version to come out because that's the one with town building and raising your skills and you're recruiting people to your town. And I always love the Empires version.
Have you tried any of the Legend of Zelda crossovers?
I tried the first Hyrule Warriors. I think I rented it, and I wasn't a fan of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel the same way too. I ended up getting the Breath of the Wild version for my birthday one year. I still haven't looked at it, but I like it in the sense that it kind of is going to tell the story of what led you to Breath of the Wild, but they're doing it in a very Dynasty Warriors way, so I just haven't had the heart or the motivation to want to start that game up. I still have. Here
was my issue with it was Dynasty Warriors is very fluid and fast. And what I played of the first Hyrule Warriors was it was kind of slow and clunky. And I'm like, dude, these games cannot be slow and clunky. That is not a thing that they can be at all. That's and you know what's funny? And this is a tangent again, and I apologize, listeners, but like when I got Dynasty Warriors 9, if you go look at the reviews on Steam for that, it is like overwhelmingly negative, right? I don't think that game's that bad. People just complain because they made it an open world game, but there's not a lot in the world. It's just kind of open space for open space. But at the same time, like, what do you expect to be out in the wilderness of China?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I played it on PlayStation 4 and I thought it was great. I haven't played it on PC because it hasn't been on a decent enough sale for me to buy it again, but it's a good game. I don't know why people hate it so much, but there's the Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires that came out, and that's got just as bad of a rating. And I'm like, man, what is up with people?
What is going on?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have a stake in the. I don't even know the terminology. I don't really have a stake in the fight, but just because a game is different doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah,
I think that's a problem that we have with modern games today. People are just looking for repeats of what we already have instead of being willing to try something new.
Yeah, stepping outside the box.
Yeah. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, perfect example. Like, I actually can't get into Tears of the Kingdom because to me it just feels like more Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. And I mean, you know what? I mean, Hollywood's the same way, if you think about it.
They
just keep rehashing old things. Like, I was having a conversation with the new girl at work yesterday. I said, because she was talking about how she always wanted to be in a Harry Potter movie. And I told her, I was like, or she said, but her accent's too Southern for it. I said, that's the movie that we need. Give me a hillbilly wizard movie. Give me a horror movie that is based around magic and in a mythical world. Because horror movies are always set in reality because that's what scares people, right? But think about if there's something that is being able to kill wizards who can cast magic and things, and they are eviscerating them. And this is a terrible topic to be talking about on the JRPG report, but I'm just saying in general, like, there are these ideas that you could run with, but I don't know. Give me a JRPG set in medieval times with magic and stuff, kind of like they did Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. You know what I mean? Where it was a fantasy-based game, but everything about it mechanically was a JRPG. It was a Final Fantasy X ripoff, and it was good. Let's try more of that. Do it with anime characters. I don't care.
There's a game that came out last week called Fae Farm, and it's a like Harvest Moon-y type game. It's actually probably closer in relation to Stardew Valley because there is a little bit of combat in it. And it does have a lot of the same like tropes for, crafting and farming and world building and all that, but they're introducing magic into it. And so now you can like use magic to help grow your crops, or you can use magic to get through the mine, or you can use magic to help raise your animals. And so it ends up taking something that, we're comfortable with, but it's doing it in a different way, and it's getting negative reviews.
Are people comparing it to Rune Factory?
People are comparing it to Rune Factory and Stardew Valley.
Okay, because I was going to say, I know Rune Factory is very much like one of those types of games, but it's kind of fantastical with magic and dragons and things like that.
Yeah, no, Rune Factory has has a bit more meat to it. Maybe not the newer ones, but like 4 that was on the 3DS.
That's the one that I have
on
on Steam. This 4 special edition for PC.
Yeah, that's really the one that people gravitate to, because the way they handle combat and monster taming and farming, I think hits that sweet spot. And so I think that's kind of the bar to beat. And maybe Fae Farm hasn't done that, but it's different. It's a different take on the farming.
And there's nothing wrong with being different.
Right, exactly. Like, instead of using a hoe to make your plots in the ground so you could plant, you actually have to craft dirt tiles, and you place those.
Okay.
And they look great because you have like a little like mini fence around them, and it already comes pre-made in the tile, so it actually looks more like a farming plot than just putting some dirt in the ground and then having to craft stuff around it.
I like that. And there's too much where, like, say someone's making a game and they're like, I want to make the best Souls-like. I'll use that as an example. And it's like, what?
Well, you did just play Titan Souls, so
why do you want to be a Souls-like? Why do you want to be like something?
Right.
Like, don't try to be the best Souls-like. Go out there and be the best insert name of your game. Make a new thing where people were taking your game Dagoth Wave. I'll just use that because that's a great song. Young Scrolls, shout out. Take your game Dagoth Wave, and so they're making Dagoth Wave likes instead of, instead of being like, this is going to be the Final Fantasy killer, and we all know what happened to Legend of Dragoon with that.
Yeah, right.
Focus on being your own thing. Don't try to focus on being like, our game's going to be better than this one, or our game is so much like this one you'll like. No, dude, do your own thing. Be unique, and it'll draw in people. It's also going to draw in haters, but that's just the way it is. Sorry, go ahead.
Everybody hates something.
Yeah.
Did you read the articles, and then we'll move on? Did you read the articles about Baldur's Gate 3 about how developers were getting pissed that that's now the bar of RPG that they now have to beat?
It's a high bar.
Yeah.
It's a high bar.
But so
I
don't know.
I can understand it, but at the same time, it's like, man, yeah, they stepped it up. Congratulations. Now you all have to too. And you know what that's called? That's called good for the business.
Right. Because you know what that's going to mean? We're going to get better games.
We're going to get better games. And I've been reading an article where they're talking about trying to implement AI into video games as far as being able to learn what your character has done in the world and then having NPCs react to it accordingly instead of scripting.
That I'm actually okay with.
Like, I think that could be cool. If they make AI reactive like that, don't let it write your quests and things, like, because then they're going to be jarbled. But if you want to implement it where, like, the world learns what you're doing and stuff, that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
You implement that in Elder Scrolls 6, that's a game changer.
Correct.
They're going to be like, Baldur's what?
Yeah, exactly.
When Elder Scrolls 6 comes out in 10 years.
Yeah, if we're around for that.
All right, so this next one. NIS America has shared a character trailer for Monochrome Mobius, Rights and Wrongs Forgotten. NIS America, they just repeat the same thing. Although Monochrome Mobius does not have the Utabo Re Romano in its title, it is part.
Wow, you did really well with that.
It is part of the Utabo Re Romano. Utarwe Re Rumano, or maybe Mono, taking place prior to the events of the U-word, Mask of Deception. Monochrome Mobius, Rights and Wrongs Forgotten is set to release for the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 on September 5th in North America and September 8th in Europe and Oceania. The RPG previously released for PC in November of 2022. Quick overview, and you can check out this character trailer if you would like on NIS America's official YouTube channel. Embark on an adventure in Monochrome Mobius, Rights and Wrongs Forgotten. The quiet life of Oshtar, a young man living on the frontier province of Inakamue, is abruptly shattered when he encounters a mysterious young girl named Shunya. Join Oshtar as he embarks on his journey to see who will stand by his side or stand against him. Monochrome Mobius, Rights and the Wrongs Forgotten is coming to PS4 and PS5, September 5th, 2023. I didn't realize that was already out for PC. I might have to look into that. I've heard good things about that series. I suppose I should play the first two first.
So, Rights and Wrongs Forgotten is a sequel?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, because it says the RPG previously released for PC in November 2022. So it came out in November 2022. It came out a year ago for PC.
Now it's coming to PlayStation.
But now it's coming to PlayStation. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. All right, Persona 5 Tactica, Haru Okumura trailer. Poor Haru, she doesn't get enough screen time.
I know, right?
And you know what the sad thing is I didn't really play as her all that much, but I really liked her as a character.
Same.
Had I not already committed to An in my first playthrough, I probably would have gone for Haru.
Yeah, see, I went Makoto, but I ended up really liking Haru as well.
Yeah. No, Haru, if I ever get a chance to play Persona 5 again, I might go for Haru. Because, I don't know, there were just a couple of really deep cutscenes involving her and the protagonist. Like, she gets very emotional, rightfully so, without giving spoilers. But there are just some emotional moments on the roof of that school. Atlas released a new trailer for Persona 5 Tactica, introducing Haru Okumura. Oh, that's right, it's Okumura, because I don't want to spoil.
Yeah.
The daughter of the CEO of Okumura Foods, a large fast food chain, reads Haru's official character description. At one point, she was forced into an arranged marriage agreement from her father, and she wasn't free to live as she chose. After awakening to her persona, she finds the courage to stand up to her father. In the process, she loses him. The article spoils it for me. But continues the fight after overcoming her grief. Although she is gentle and well-mannered, she can also be a bit scary at times. Her persona is Milady. Persona 5 Tactica is due out for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam on November 17th worldwide. It will also be available via Xbox Game Pass. And then there's some extra links in the article, as well as a link to the YouTube video in the Gamatsu news article, which I think I saw you retweeting a couple days ago, so I think you put that out there.
I think I did retweet this, but also this trailer is available on the Atlas YouTube official, like the Atlas YouTube. So
okay,
let's see. Up next, we got
more Persona.
Kind of an opinion piece, a bit from RPG site. They got some hands-on at PAX West with Persona 3 Reload, so I thought you guys might be interested in that. This is by Josh Torres. I want to give him his credit.
Oh,
go ahead.
Before you get into it, I am kind of happy to see he is holding a gun in his hand. Yeah. Because one of my concerns about this game in particular is that they're going to edit out some of the more graphic content to appeal to more modern audiences or not get themselves in trouble. But that gives me kind of hope that they're going to try and keep things more authentic. And I should probably just let you read the article because we might get more info on that.
Yeah, I hope they do, because Atlas fans can be fickle. And I know that they would be like up in arms if they changed anything about Persona 3.
Yeah, no, that's a major... I haven't played it, but I know enough about it to know that is a major part of the plot.
Yeah, and people are already pissed that it's not going to have the answer nor the female protagonist.
What?
Yeah,
they took stuff out?
Yeah, it's not a remake of FES. It's a remake of the original Persona 3.
So,
do you think we'll eventually get Persona 3 Reload FES? I think so.
100%. 100%. That's how Atlas plays.
Seeing Persona 3 Reload for myself at PAX West helped me ease some of my initial worries. It was remaking one of my favorite Persona installments, and much of my admiration for it stems from its unique atmosphere. Sure, Persona 3's systems fundamentally laid the foundation for all future mainline Persona titles, though its cast of characters and themes it tackles still resonate with me today. There were actually 2 demo modes available for Persona 3 Reload at PAX West show floor, New Moon and Full Moon. New Moon was tuned more for beginners as it focused on early game dungeon exploration. On the other hand, Full Moon fast-forwarded players to the Dark Hour on May 9th, the showdown with the first Full Moon boss on the monorail against the Arcana Priestess. Naturally, as an RPG site writer, I picked the sane option, Full Moon. It immediately starts players with Makoto, the Persona 3's protagonist name in this demo, Yukari and Junpei on the monorail tracks. Like in the original, players quickly make their way to the monorail and board it to deal with the enemy shadows before facing off against the major Arcana Priestess story boss. At this point in the original Persona 3, this is one of the key moments in the game where you feel the scope of the game's narrative is much larger than you originally thought. It's not just a game where you live out your school and personal life while slowly climbing this odd Tartarus tower at night. The threats that you felt were confined to the Tartarus have begun to bleed into the other parts of the real world again, like at the very beginning of the game. Before making my way to the monorail, I quickly skimmed the new menus of Persona 3 Reload to get a sense of how much of Persona 5's UI design philosophy has influenced it. While it's certainly livelier and prettier than the other prior releases of Persona 3, I was glad to see that it wasn't as in-your-face as Persona 3's main menu was. Of course, Persona 5's main menus reinforced its narrative themes of rebellion, though it's obvious that it'd be a bit much of a mismatch to duplicate that tempo in Persona 3. Instead, I really dug the calmer ebb and flow that Persona 3's Reload's menus exuded. It's like diving deeper and deeper into water gently, common imagery that Persona 3 has always displayed as an allegory for the human soul. Shifting between different options in the menu carried seamless transitions of the protagonists repositioning themselves to display your new options elegantly. I especially liked how the status screen was displayed, as it had the Persona 3 MC layback carrying some sort of mirror shard on his right hand, displaying it to the player. As people cycle through the different party members on the Switch status screen they wanted to see, the mirror shard reflects that person's eyes. It felt intimate without being flashy about it. Anyway, I made my way to the monorail and the scene plays out as identical to the original. As the three C's members board it and investigate, they're ambushed by a few enemy shadows. The battle system, as you've probably seen in previous Persona 3 Reload footage, looks much closer to Persona 5's presentation. Actions are mapped onto the face buttons instead of scrolling through a circular menu like in the original release. The battle BGM in this demo was a rearrangement of Mass Destruction, so you'll get your dose of the baby, 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 baby as soon as the battle starts. One aspect of this new modernized look in Persona 3 Reload's battles that stuck out to me was how impactful summoning personas are. The characters still take their gun evokers to their heads and shoot them to summon their personas. There you go.
There it is. There it is. I'm happy now.
The higher visual fidelity emphasizes the evoker models. While you could barely see them in the original due to its lower native resolution, Persona models themselves carry that outer image shimmer that Persona 5's models had. When hitting a weakness or critical attack, the brief cut-ins of characters' eyes are still displayed. This time, it looks even nicer to see because the artwork of the cut in itself is slightly animated as the character's hair moves, which provides a nice, subtle, slightly punchier effect to it. Perhaps the biggest addition to Persona 3's battle system is the Persona 3 Reload is the new shift mechanic. It functions similarly to Persona 5's Baton Pass. If a character hits an enemy's weakness or fires off a critical attack, they can choose to take an additional turn or pass their turn immediately to another character by initiating a shift to them. I wasn't exactly sure if the recipient of the shifts gained any noticeable stat buffs or if it would be a feature that's unlocked later in the character's social links for Persona 3 Reload. Shift would allow players to more evenly control their party's SP consumption as they continually gain the upper hand in exploiting weaknesses. Of course, Persona 3 Reload allows for direct control over all party members like in Persona 3 Portable. Sweet. That was my question.
Nice.
Are they going to make you just control the one guy like they did in the original? Cool. For those that prefer how the original Persona 3 automated their party members' turns, Persona 3 Reload allows for that as well by tweaking each of your party members' behaviors.
So if you want to go back, you can. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. Once again, the events at the monorail in Persona 3 Reload are identical to how they were in the original, with Junpei running ahead after a shadow. Eventually, you reunite with him after the Persona 3 MC and Yukari fight off a few more incoming shadows. Then, Persona 3 Reload starts to handle things differently. I'm not exactly sure if these tweaks are just confined to this full moon demo, or if it's reflective of what happens in the final game. After Junpei rejoins the party, an 8-minute timer starts as the monorail starts to move. Players have to make their way to the front of the monorail and beat the boss before the time expires. There'll still be a few enemy mobs in their way too, and that's how the original game unfolds. In Persona 3 Reload, this timer doesn't start when Junpei joins back up. All the following fights before the boss are scripted. There wasn't a segment where you saw shadows freely traveling around the monorail car for you, or them, to initiate to fight manually. Finally, I made my way to the Arcana Priestess boss at the front of the monorail. Her design remains faithful to her previous iterations. All aspects of her are intact, but in a much higher fidelity. It made me look forward to seeing all the other story bosses and how they would look in Persona 3 Reload if the Priestess boss was anything to go by. As soon as the boss fight starts, a timer for 30 minutes shows up, begins to tick down. No sweat. The demo will end long before the 30 minutes is up. After a few turns of chipping away at its HP, the Priestess does a move I didn't recognize. Invitation to Chaos. Suddenly, she starts tearing off parts of the monorail at her side and begins to accelerate. The 26 minutes on the clock begin to accelerate at an alarming speed down to around 18 minutes. I'm beginning to suspect I'm going to have less and less time the more the fight goes on. It was very cool to see how there were slight changes in how these story encounters now work. I hope this is actually reflective of how it will play in the final game. Seeing the environment start getting massacred by the boss gives some weight and stakes to the entire situation. If the surroundings getting gradually degraded in some way, shape, or form is an ongoing theme during major boss encounters, there's some real potential in expressing that in creative ways. I can accidentally confirm that Persona 3 protagonist dying in battle gives you a game over. The Priestess boss got a lucky critical hit on Makoto. Meanwhile, Yukari and Junpei were still healthy. Game over. Demo done. Persona 3 Reload isn't too far away. It's coming out February 2nd, 2024 for PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox X and S, Xbox One, and PC via Steam. And I'll definitely be checking it out, and I think the demo at PAX West was a good taste for me. So...
kind of makes me want to maybe not play it, but look up some footage of the original, because when the new one comes out, I definitely am going to want to compare. And I'm glad that this person...
Josh Torres,
thank you. I'm glad that he is a Persona 3 fan, because he was able to compare the events in Reload to the events in the original, and it was nice to see the juxtaposition and the fact that they are preserving it, but they are making it better.
Yeah, for sure. And like the one, like there's a screenshot here that's like the animated scene of that where he's evoked it with his head against his head, and the spray of the persona is coming out the other side, and it's so cool looking. Yeah. That's
I'm glad that they preserved that.
This is going to be a game that I'm going to have to get. I'm going to have to get it and play it. I'm going to have to make time for it.
Me too. Oh, I don't know what's coming out in February that would compete with that for me, so I should be okay.
I am not sure. I'll let you.
As long as.
No, you go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say, but we're going from Persona to Square Enix stories now.
Square Enix stuff.
Square Enix details battle system alongside new screenshots for Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. More details for Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince has landed on Square Enix's blog, detailing the battle system, some new monsters, and some arenas where players will be able to test their mettle in-game. In addition to the blog post, Square Enix uploaded a slightly condensed overview to their press site, which you can find below. We also have a few screenshots for newly announced monsters for the game embedded below too. Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince is set to release on December 1st for Nintendo Switch, with pre-orders now available digitally for the game starting today. You can check out the last major news drop from the game from July, or the announcement from the last Nintendo Direct. And here's some info from the press release. Today, Square Enix announced the upcoming role-playing game, Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, is now available for digital pre-orders and pre-purchase exclusively for Nintendo Switch via the Square Enix official store and at retail. Players who pre-order or pre-purchase the game will also receive the Head Start set, which includes several exclusive items. Additionally, the team at Square Enix also revealed more details on the game's new battle and monster recruitment system, available to players once the game officially launches worldwide on December 1st. Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince is the latest installment in the Dragon Quest Monsters series, where players immerse in the epic story of the Dark Prince Pissarro, a monster wrangler, and construct a team of monsters to battle against your enemies as you progress through the adventure to becoming the master of monster kind. In Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince, Nintendo Switch players and Dragon Quest fans worldwide will be able to scout monsters and send them into battle, control up to 8 team members, with up to 4 in your main party and 4 more in your reserves. Issue precise orders to each individual monster during battle, or set general tactics such as show no mercy or focus on healing and leave it to your monsters to decide the specifics. Your monsters can enter into a frenzied state out of sheer desperation and inflict greater damage and gain additional opportunities to act if victory seems like a distant dream. Grow your roster of monsters. There are many ways to grow your roster of monsters. After winning a battle, they may ask to join your team afterwards. Use the show of force skill and try persuading strong-looking enemies to join your team. Meet other wranglers on your journey who are willing to combine their monsters with yours to create a brand new creature, one they'll even let you keep.
Well, that's pretty cool.
That is actually pretty cool. Use items such as meat-based goodies and other treats to increase the likelihood of recruiting a monster or improve the persuasiveness of your show of force. Use the power of synthesis to make new monsters, combine 2 parent monsters to make a new one. The synthesis system has been overhauled for the Dark Prince, and now features more intuitive combinations for returning gamers and newcomers to discover.
Ooh.
Unlock new monster talents. There are 3 broad categories of talent, and each one contains a mix of skills, magic spells, attribute boosters, and more. Some provide life-saving healing spells, while others can turn a monster into an attacking powerhouse or a sponge for damage. A selection of talents are even named after some very familiar monsters. Level up monsters' talents. Unlock new sets of spells and abilities gradually by assigning talent points earned through a battle experience and or other means. Inherit talents through synthesizing. When a child monster is synthesized, it comes with its own innate talent, but can also inherit skills from its parent. Understanding this is the ultimate key to creating powerful monsters. There are numerous talents to be acquired. Manage your team of monster sizes and ranks. Monsters come in 2 different sizes, small or large. Small monsters can take up 1 slot in your team, while large monsters require 2 slots. Set up a party of 4 small monsters, or 2 large ones, or 2 small and 1 large. Large monsters also have higher attributes than their small counterparts and act multiple times per round during battle. Each monster is assigned one of 9 ranks based on its type, and it goes from G all the way up to A, and then S or X from lowest to highest. Rank S monsters hold many familiar antagonists from the series, while most friendly, powerful monsters exclusively occupy rank X. Test your mettle in the battle arenas of 2 worlds. As Psaro's adventure takes shape, 2 battle areas where you can test your monster's might will become available. The Endor Coliseum in the human world of Terrestria, and the Mausoleum in the monster realm of Nadiria. Overcome every expert monster wrangler in each arena on Psaro's quest to raise an army capable of toppling the master monsterkind himself. Familiar faces from Dragon Quest XI and new friends to find. There's over 500 monsters to befriend, including Jasper Unbound and Crystallandia from 11, Greater Platypunk and brand new monsters like Gander, and more to uncover and synthesize. Game Freak, are you paying attention here?
Right.
This is a perfect example of taking a genre of game and making it their own. Like, this is not a Pokemon game. It's not even trying to be a Pokemon game, and it sounds awesome.
Yeah, this is one that I definitely will be checking out. I know Nate's pumped about this, I believe.
Well, you guys played 11
Yeah.
for the show,
So
so
good.
there might be some connection here between the two that you guys are going to appreciate.
Dragon Quest XI was so good. Have you played it?
I have not.
Woo.
I have it. I need to play it. I need to play a lot
You
of
got
things.
100 hours?
No!
Then might
Oh, that's why I haven't started it yet, but it looks so good.
I recommend you check out the Steam Machine podcast episode on episodes.
I might actually do that.
There's like 2 or 3 of them because we covered that one like beat by beat, which we don't really do anymore because it takes forever. But
yeah. But that was you and the boys, right? That wasn't you
yeah,
and
that was
Ryan?
me and the boys. That was one of their first episodes, I believe.
I have to go back in time and check that one out. So I have gone back and listened to a couple of past episodes. Like, I listened to the Chrono Trigger episode you did with Ryan. That was a cool listen.
Yeah, which, by the way, if anyone cares to go check it out, all of the episodes of Steam Machine Podcast are now up on YouTube. And my buddy who's doing that for me is then going to now work on getting Yab's Pod up. And then he's going to work on getting JRPG up and current for me too as well. So shout out to Dane. Dane's a good guy.
Good job, Dane. We love you.
We do. So this next story here. Square Enix has released a free update for Final Fantasy XVI, which adds a weapon skin feature, onion sword weapon, and new outfits for Clive, Jill, Torgal, and other characters, as well as announced that both a PC version and 2 paid downloadable contents are currently in development, with more information to come before the end of 2023. The full message is as follows. From the Voices of Valisthea panel at PAX West, Naoki Yoshida said the following. Hello, everyone. This is Naoki Yoshida, producer of Final Fantasy XVI. It has been just over 2 months since the game's release, and we've received an enormous amount of feedback from players around the world. The development team and I have also been watching your streams and videos and paying special attention to what everyone thinks of Final Fantasy XVI. We put our all into creating this game, so it's a real joy to see so many different reactions. And so as is an expression of our sincerest gratitude, we are releasing a free update available for download today. There are 2 main parts to this update. Firstly, we are adding a weapon skin feature. This will allow you to change the appearance of Clive's weapon to that of any other blade in your possession while keeping the stats of the currently equipped weapon. That's cool. I always love that feature in games. Transmogrification, give it to me any day.
Yeah, and this is the same producer of Final Fantasy XIV, so
yeah,
he's taken a lot of his influence from that game, and he is putting it into 16, and I like that.
For sure. The second part of the update will introduce an alternate outfit for not only Clive, but also for Jill, Torgal, Ambrosia, and Joshua. You will be able to toggle between the default and additional option at any time, playing whichever you prefer. This free update will be available to download in a few hours after this panel finishes, gradually going live around the world. Once you apply the update, you are able to use these new features immediately. I hope you'll make use of these 2 new skin changes features as well as you continue to explore and enjoy every last corner of Valisthea. Additionally, for those who will be playing Final Fantasy XVI for the first time, we've taken this opportunity to add in some other minor changes based on user feedback, such as new controller layouts and more. So if you've yet to experience Final Fantasy XVI, I really encourage you to pick it up once you get your hands on a PlayStation 5. As I mentioned earlier, we've seen so many opinions and reactions from our community of Final Fantasy XVI players. But the one thing that came through particularly strong was how people wanted to see more of the Valisthea's story and spend more time with her and the inhabitants. To accommodate, the development team has started work on 2 installments of paid downloadable content. Finally, while Final Fantasy XVI was released as a PlayStation 5 exclusive, we are aware that many of you have been asking for a PC version. So allow me to take this opportunity to officially announce that development on a PC version is currently underway. I hope to be able to give you more information on both the upcoming downloadable content and the PC version before the end of the year, so please stay tuned. This has been Naoki.
Tell me you're not hyped.
Oh, yeah, I got goosebumps. Goosebumps right now.
Seriously.
This has been Naoki Yoshida, producer for Final Fantasy XVI. Thank you so much for joining us today on this panel with Koji and our wonderful voice cast. We will continue doing what we can to maintain the excitement and momentum for Final Fantasy XVI, and we hope you'll stick with us along the ride. Goodbye for now. Final Fantasy XVI is available for the PlayStation 5 and soon PC, and I'm hype. I'm just saying, that's two news articles now that we talked about going into this show. We're like, man, we hope Persona doesn't change the way that you summon personas, and we hope that 16 is going to get released on PC sooner rather than later. And there you go.
And what happens? Here we are.
Go.
Yeah. So, as long as we're continuing the love train for Yoshi P here, if you don't mind, I'm going to do the next 2 stories.
I was just about to tell you, go ahead and cover the next ones.
Okay. Because they're both about Final Fantasy XIV, and I'll kind of summarize them both. I won't necessarily read them verbatim. But there is a Rising event for 2023, and it offers fans new rewards and a Phoenix mount. The Rising celebrations are recurring annual events that celebrate the anniversary of Final Fantasy XIV's relaunch as A Realm Reborn. The 3 city-states in Eorzea are decorated for the Rising, and fireworks are active throughout the land. The Rising 2023 event includes new rewards and plot details for the greater Eorzea lore. The Rising 2023 is a limited-time celebration, so if you want any prizes during the event, you need to log into the game within a specific period. Now, for participating in this event, you actually get a Phoenix mount, and the Phoenix mount is significant in 2 ways. Not only is it a transformation mount, so you don't ride on the Phoenix, you become the Phoenix. it's also the same artwork and design as the phoenix that Louis Soix turns into in a cutscene early on in the game.
Oh, that's cool.
So this is mostly celebrating like 10 years of A Realm Reborn. And you also get a Land Reborn Orchestrion roll. You get a Palm from the Heavens Orchestrion roll. You get a Rising advertisement for your house, if you're lucky enough to have one. And you get the whistle, which lets you summon the mount.
And you're not kidding with if you're lucky enough to have a house.
Yeah, no. I think I have an apartment in that game, and it's a room. It's literally a room. It's just something I can do to plop all the housing items that I found along the way.
Same here.
Yeah. So that's one thing that's going on. And that event in particular, like for someone like me who's not around for 1.0, I still get goosebumps because listening to the music, which is the original music for when the moon was falling, like right when they shut down the servers in 1.0, they're using that same music. I still get goosebumps listening to it just because it's eerie as all heck. And it actually has made me like go back and watch YouTube videos of when the servers were shut down, just because I wanted to see what that was like for people. And so this next story talks about the 10th anniversary Moogle treasure trove. And funny story is that the subtitle of the story says there's a Fat Cat umbrella, pray all day, which is a reference to Praetorium, which is a dungeon at the end of the base game that does not have skippable cutscenes. So even if you go to replay it afterwards, you're still sitting through those cutscenes. And that was a decision that Square Enix decided to make back in the day because they noticed that players were putting a lot of pressure on newcomers to skip the cutscenes, and they didn't want players to miss out on that content. So instead of allowing that to happen, they just said, everybody, no matter when you're playing, no matter what point in the game you're on, if you're playing this dungeon, you are watching all the cutscenes.
Yeah.
But it's also...
which, like, when you're running it for the 50th time, can be annoying, but I always remember that that's why they did that, and I respect it.
Right, me too. And so typically what I'll do is I'll just find something else to do while the cutscenes are playing. I'll look on my phone or something like that. Or I'll try to memorize the lines so that I could terrorize people and say them over and over again. I actually got I know I'm going off.
No, you're fine.
But I actually got a sticker for my coworker that is just a chat bubble that says Gaius Van Baelsar, and it says, "Such devastation! This was not my intention." And I just stuck it on his computer one day at work, and he didn't notice it for a while. And then he like went to close his laptop one day, and he was like, "Really?"
Yep.
Was not my intention, but it was funny. So the reason I bring that up is because running that dungeon over and over again is the best way to get Moogle tomestones for this event, unless you're an army of blue mages and you've figured out how to run a dungeon for like 2 seconds with blue mage spells.
Yeah, fair.
So long story short, they're running this event until patch 6.5, which I believe comes out next month. And so some of the rewards, such as all of the Kamui wolves, are available through this event, as well as 3 different orchestrion rolls for Kefka songs from Final Fantasy VI. Those are probably some of the nicer ones. There's also like a Fat Cat umbrella. There's a Warrior of Light triple triad card, and there's some emotes that might be worth it that you might find it hard to get. Like there's one here that you need to get 50 Bosgen clusters, and I have no idea how to get those. So there's some cool stuff in here. There's a Tyrannosaur mount. So if you are into Final Fantasy XIV at all, and this sounds exciting to you, then I think you have the rest of this month to
dive in there and
get some Moogle tomestones and get some pretty awesome rewards.
Yeah, man. I don't have the gumption to jump back in at the moment, but a Tyrannosaurus mount sounds pretty sweet.
It does. So, I don't know. I run in... I've been not really playing that game a whole lot lately, but I have logged in, done my daily prey run, and then just logged out. Just so I could get the tomestones. Because I know there's going to come a time in the near future where I'm going to start hitting the story really hard again. So, I just want to have that stuff in my back pocket.
No, I can get that.
Yeah.
So I'm skimming over this next article, and I'm pretty...
Yeah, I didn't realize we're like running at an hour and a half right now. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I'm just saying, like, I think this next article is badly translated, but we'll see. The Entertainment Software Rating Board has rated PlayStation 5 versions of The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3 and Trails of Cold Steel 4, published by NIS America. Here are the ratings for these. Okay? Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3. And there is slight language in this, ladies and gentlemen, so I do apologize if you want to skip ahead a couple minutes and not hear a couple words. But they are in the game, and that's what it's going to tell you. This is a role-playing game in which players follow soldiers as they attempt to uncover secret plots and prevent a war. From a third-person perspective, players explore fantasy settings, interact with characters, and engage in battles with enemy soldiers and creatures. Example given, fish-like monsters, robots, and jaguars. Combat is turn-based, with the players selecting attack moves from a menu before watching brief cutscenes of their fighters slashing swords. A handful of cutscenes depict slashes of blood. In one sequence, blood splatter effects occur during combat with fish-like enemies. The game contains some suggestive material, a character groping a female character's chest under her armor/chest plate. Ooh. And with accompanying dialogue. I'm not going to give the example given for that. A student flirting with her teacher. And a few scenes depict characters drinking alcohol. One scene shows a character smoking a cigarette. The word, quote, shit can be heard in the game, and a character can be seen holding up his middle finger. So I thought that was a description of the game. I didn't realize that was a description of the rating. So when I was skimming through that, I was like, that is such a weird description for this game. I thought it was badly translated. But it's so strange what they base their ratings on. Like there was a splash of blood with a fish-like creature.
So are these teen ratings? Are these M ratings? The article doesn't really specify. It just says why.
I want to say that they're teen.
They got the ratings that they got. I would say that the Trails series is probably worthy of a teen.
I don't think I've ever seen an F-bomb dropped, and I know that's usually a big factor in an M game.
Yeah, but they definitely, and I think same thing with Cold Steel 4. Like they're using a-hole and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's and there's gambling. So yeah, that's definitely at least in America, that's definitely what'll get you a teen rating. Like that mildly suggestive stuff that really is teens know about, but it doesn't actively like show it graphically. It's just innuendo and a little bit of cursing.
Yeah, that'd pass for a teen rating these days.
Yeah. So it doesn't actually say that they're getting a teen rating, but I could imagine that they'd be getting a teen rating based on what they're describing.
And the description of 4 is basically the same spiel, except like you said, it also says they say a-hole.
Yeah.
Just strikes me funny that's just the way they rated it. I don't know. It's just odd.
Yeah, it is odd, but I don't want to go on a tangent on the rating system because then we'll be here for another 2 hours.
Do you want me to do the next one, or do you think you can get through with the pronunciations?
No, Atelier articles I cannot handle.
All right. Koei Tecmo, Gust, and Akatsuki Games have released a second trailer for Atelier Resloriana, The Forgotten Alchemy and the Liberator of the Polar Night, the next main Atelier series entry. The game itself is set to release in 2023 on PC and mobile devices in Japan. The new trailer is heavy on narrative moments, including Valeria, the game's second lead after the previously revealed Resna Sternenlicht. Valeria is a young woman with a pair of horns, one of them chipped off, and she wields blades worn on her forearms. Ooh, she related to Baraka.
She's a pretty cool looking character too. They show just a portrait from the neck up, and you could see where the horn is cut off. It's a pretty cool look.
I like her eyes too, where her pupils are diamonds.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Pretty cool. In her character description on the official website, Valeria is described as having top-notch fighting skills. However, she doesn't know where she got them from, as she suffers from amnesia.
Why do they all suffer from amnesia?
It's always amnesia.
It's always amnesia.
She's worked with Heidi for the last few years, taking on tough jobs and mercenary work. Valeria is voiced by Manami Numakura, who also played Plek in Attack on Titan. Hinata Sakaguchi, in that time I got reincarnated as a slime, and Katarina Balbastre in Atelier Sophie 2. In the trailer, Heidi refers to Flock Serha, herself, and Valeria as having something in common. Respectively, they're someone who lost their parents, someone who escaped her parents, and someone who can't remember her parents. Okay. The characters are shown interacting with strangers, characters from previous Atelier games visiting the world of Reslariana. These include the likes of Monica, Aisha, Esha, Loji, Totori, Rorona, Firis, Ryza, and more. The official site also describes the systems and structures of the game to an extent. Though the game will use a stamina system to regulate activity, the story won't cost any stamina to progress, allowing players to get as far as they can without expending resources. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's nice of them. Each character has 3 skills that can be used in battle, and the battle system is based on a timeline showing the turn order. In combat, players will try to acquire, quote, panels that enable the use of burst skills and gaining other effects. Characters can also be upgraded by sending them on training quests in exchange for stamina, unlocking panels on a growth board and equipping Memoria, special gear-like items that contain illustrations and scenes from the Atelier series, plus various, quote, what-if scenarios. They're going the Marvel route. Materials for alchemy can be gathered through questing in dungeons and taking on score battles for rewards. Multiple alchemists can cooperate while performing synthesis, with over 100 recipes to discover and unlock. Atelier Reslariana will be released on PC and mobile devices in Japan in 2023, but a global release date not been announced yet.
It looks kind of mobile gamey.
Yeah, but man, they made it a mainline game, and I'm like, really? So I'm hopeful, because I do. Atelier is one of those series that I really want to get into, because I hear they're fantastic. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know, man.
I don't know either. Like I said, we're living in an age where we have to pick and choose our JRPGs, and it looks cool, but it doesn't look like it's on the top of my radar.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, here, I'll let you handle the next one.
Yeah, I'll do the next 2. It seems only fair. We got a couple more to get through, and 2 of them involve the same game, so I think we'll be all right. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gate Rune, and Union Unification Awards is actually delayed beyond 2003. Additional time is needed to ensure the quality, performance, and gameplay experience our users deserve. Konami has delayed Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gate Rune, and Union Unification Awards beyond its previously planned 2023 release window to an unannounced date. It will be available for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam when it launches. Interesting that it's a PS4, Xbox One. They're not pushing it up to PS5 and Series. Yeah,
not yet at least. It is kind of strange.
Yeah. I mean, I know you could play them on there, but I figured if they're going to delay it, maybe they would, make it on those systems as well. According to the company, additional time is needed in order to ensure the quality, performance, and gameplay experience players deserve. We would like to thank Suikoden fans everywhere for your ongoing passion and support for the Suikoden series. Regarding the planned release of the remaster, we have reached the conclusion that despite the very best efforts of our dedicated deployment staff to release the remasters in 2023, additional time is needed to ensure the quality, performance, and gameplay experience our users deserve. The entire Suikoden team is renewing our efforts to bring it to release as soon as possible. We will share further release information as soon as it becomes available on social media and our homepage. We appreciate your understanding and sincerely hope you'll continue to lend Suikoden your support. Which, okay, if you need time to polish your game, great, but this is a HD remaster. I didn't think that those things got delayed.
I don't know how much they're building from the ground up, though,
That's true.
I don't know.
That's true.
I don't have a lot of experience with
I don't
Suikoden.
Me neither, but I do know that there's a lot of players on screen at the same time, so maybe that's some of the roadblocks that they're hitting, is maybe they're having trouble rendering all those assets in HD at the same time.
You know what's funny is the game that's based on these games, or was inspired by them, that Iwiden Chronicle, that got delayed too.
Really?
So it's like, man, I don't know.
Please understand, I guess. Next story. Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name details Coliseum, Cabaret Club, Pocket Circuit, Karaoke, Boutique. Here, this is the part where it's going to excite you. Arcade and Master System games. And darts.
Yep.
You ready for this one? Daytona USA 2 returns.
Hell yeah, heck yeah.
Publisher Sega and the developer Ryu Gotoku Studio have released new information and screenshots for The Man Who Erased His Name, introducing all those things that I mentioned above. So there's a little bit of information about each one. The castle is an adult theme park, only open to a handful of VIPs. Its showcase event is the Hell Arena, a combat spectacle held in the Coliseum. The Hell Arena is packed with every type of combat entertainment imaginable to whet the appetites of its discerning clientele. Take control of your allies and conquer the arena. And the screenshots show what I believe... Oh, no, it says Joryu. You know more about Yakuza than I do, so I think Joryu is related to Kiryu.
No. So this game, Kiryu is the man who erased his name. So he goes under... Like, he is called Joryu. It's like a... they're calling him that instead of Kiryu because he's kind of like, quote, undercover in a way.
Gotcha. Doesn't sound very far from Kiryu, but...
No, not at all. It's like Superman putting on sunglasses or whatever.
Exactly. Well,
or his glasses.
Funny you mentioned that because he's wearing a masquerade mask in this in these screenshots. And then it goes into the different modes, which the Hell Team Rumble, I think, is the hardest of all of them, because it says in Hell Team Rumble, it is essential that you adequately organize your team and train them. Your more resilient allies should be placed on the front line, while your support members and allies with ranged weapons should be placed in the rear. Try to come up with your own strategies to capitalize on your team's individual traits. And the screenshots here for this mode, this is looks like this is part of the Hell Arena as well, as it shows Joryu going up against Majima. And
Kiryu-chan!
Is that really how Majima looks? I've never actually looked at him before.
So that's how Majima looks now. In Yakuza 0, he's very clean cut with long hair. He's got his eye patch, but something happens in Yakuza 0 that makes him become the Mad Dog, and that's what he looks like now.
Gotcha.
And that is such a... if you have not played Yakuza 0, it is so worth your time, listeners. It is so good.
I need to.
I'm going to send you afterwards, if I remember, I'm going to send you the song that plays during that scene. It's called Rain.
Okay.
And my goodness, it's a ballin' song. But continue.
Okay. Fighters Lounge. At the Fighters Lounge, you can find new allies or talk with your current team members to build stronger ties. It's an important location where you can alleviate your allies' fatigue, so make sure to pay the lounge a visit. Floating Legendary Fighter Pack. Floating in the bay away from the prying eyes of the public is a mysterious tanker known as the Castle. At the Coliseum, on board the ship, 3 legendary Yakuza from the Tojo clan have shown up for the fight. Claim victory with your allies in the ultimate showdown. Who is truly the strongest? Find out in this intense battle between legends. And the Cabaret Club...
Yeah!
It features live-action models. Choose between 5 unique individuals and enjoy a glamorous evening. Once you've built a rapport with them, they may even invite you out for some private time afterwards. You might even get a glimpse at a whole other side to them. And yeah, looking at the screenshots, they are real people.
They are gorgeous.
They are. But also looking at the screenshots, it's tasteful. Well, no, never mind.
Oh, that's still tasteful. She's in a bikini.
Yeah, that's still I don't even think it's I don't even know. You can't see because she's in the water. But I don't know. It looks tasteful. It's this One thing I have to say about the Yakuza series is it tries to be Grand Theft Auto without being Grand Theft Auto. And I kind of like that about it.
Yeah, it's very wacky, but it also like isn't too gratuitous.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I tell my students all the time when they ask me about Grand Theft Auto 5, I'm like, I didn't play that game because there were too many slurs in the first 10 minutes that I just shut it off and brought it back.
That's fair. Grand Theft Auto 5's story was really good, but if you can't get past the way they talk in that game, it's not going to get any better.
Right, exactly. That was exactly my point. I'm like, if they're talking like this at the beginning, they're going to talk like this for the whole game, and I just don't know if I can hang with it.
Yeah, I get that totally, dude.
Yeah. So Pocket Circuit. You can play the Pocket Circuit at Core Star, a bar and cafe in Sotenbori. Pocket Circuit Fighter Rand will be able to hook you up with new car bodies and parts. Check out some of the new modes like Time Attack, where you get to race against the fastest time, and Rival, which lets you challenge opponents in town. This looks like slot cars.
It is slot cars.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you can build your slot car. Like you can go and buy like new parts for it and upgrade them, and it's awesome. It's really fun.
That's really cool. Just, I mean, I could go on and like karaoke that's been in the games before. There's a new song, Sayonara Silent Night. There's a boutique where you could customize Kiryu's appearance. Arcade and Master System. You've got Fighting Vipers 2, Sega Racing Classic 2, Galaxy Force, Flicky, and then there's Darts, which is upgraded to Darts Life 3. I'm kind of summarizing the rest of it just because the amount of things you can do in this game, they're pretty consistent, I think, across all Yakuza games, but you just have this, like, big, bad, like...
Dude, it's just, like, you can go do whatever you want for a while.
Yeah.
There's...
Right, but, like, you're playing as, like, a big bad, and maybe big bad is, like, not the best way to describe him, but...
Oh, he's a hoss.
Yeah.
He's not a bad guy, like, as far as big bad, but, like, he is... like your typical action hero. Like he's for lack of a better term, he's a badass.
Yeah.
And
I was trying to avoid saying that word.
Yeah, I know. And
yeah,
like I said,
right.
I'm sorry, but for lack of a better term, it's exactly what he is. And it's one of the things I love about Yakuza is that the story is so serious and like compelling and dramatic. And then you can go run down a street and you see a guy dancing around in his underwear and he gives you a quest to go find him cards with girls on them. And then you can go pop over to the Sega arcade and play Super Hang On 2 or, you know, whatever. Like I played through the entirety of the arcade mode of Virtua Fighter 5 in one of the Yakuza games.
Jeez. I'm just trying to imagine this like rough, tough guy walking in. He's like, I want to customize my slot
It's
car.
hilarious. It's because he's so overly dramatic about it. Like you see the picture, if you scroll back up where he's holding the car up.
Yeah.
Like that is probably like a scene where it like shows him and he like whips his glasses on and then dramatically like throws his hand up into the air.
Yeah. And it's like me with my handhelds.
It's so good, dude. I love the Like a Dragon Yakuza series, and especially now that they're like this one I think is still in the classic style, but like the newer games that are coming out in the series are turn-based.
Yeah, so, like Ishin was turn-based.
Yep, Ishin was turn-based, and it like I love that started as a Easter not an Easter egg, an April Fool's joke. And everybody was like, "Yeah, that'd be cool." And they were like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, well, then we're going to do it.
So they did it. And I just think that's awesome.
Oof. And the guy doesn't wield guns or anything like that. Like he baseball bat and fists.
You can use a gun. It's like a side item thing, and you can absolutely shoot people. But it doesn't kill them.
Okay.
Quote unquote. This is very much like a Spider-Man and Batman, where it's like Kiryu doesn't kill people, but they might want to wish that they were in the state that they're left in after he's done with them.
Or he might not kill you, but somebody will.
Yeah, somebody will.
Somebody will. Do you want to tackle the Ys stories?
Yeah. And let's see, I can blow through these pretty quickly. I think Asian publisher Clouded Leopard Entertainment has released a new trailer for Ys 10 Nordics introducing each of the game's characters. There's Adol Christian, an adventurer who has left behind numerous journals. He travels around the world with Doji. Karya Balta, the daughter of the leader of the Balta Navy, the pirate princess, proudly leads a gang of maritime miscreants in the pirate activities. Grin Burge, a member of a neighborhood watch in the town of Karnak and the eldest son of Karnak's Mayor Burge. Rosalind Rooseveri, the poster girl for the town's popular Rooseveri tavern. My goodness. She is well-mannered and considerate of those around her. Cruz Carpent, loves reading and has a wealth of knowledge across various fields. While he may seem quiet, I'm assuming that that's what they meant is quiet and not quite. Because how do you seem quite?
Yeah, I think that's a typo.
While he may seem quiet, he has a surprising ability to take initiative. Rif Evelise, childhood hero. Where am I getting these words from? A childhood friend of Green and Cruz who sometimes reveals his mature side. And Mirabelle Azrad, a nurse who works at a clinic. She is a good friend of Green and his family and watches over them as they grow up. Ys 10 Nordics is due out for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Switch September 28th in Japan and Asia. You can also read about the game here, and here.
Those are all links to different articles. And I feel like we have, every time we do an episode, we have like 2-3 Nordics articles from this exact site. So Gamatsu's really on top of this game. And I think with its release date pretty close in Japan, like there's a lot of hype for this game.
Yeah. And as much as I love you listeners, this next article about Ys 10 is super long. And I feel like it would bore you guys, so I'm not going to read it. So we're going to wrap up. You want to do the Idea Factory one? You want me to do it?
You go ahead.
All right. Idea Factory International has released a gameplay trailer for Mary Skelter Finale ahead of it, the DRPG's launch for Steam on September 12th. Dude, it's been a day and it's late. The gameplay video can be found on their official YouTube alongside a description via Idea Factory. We are excited to announce that the dungeon-crawling RPG Mary Skelter Finale has a new gameplay trailer that showcases the various game systems in Mary Skelter Finale, including basic battles, chase mode, the zapping system, and the monstrous nightmares. The game launches September 12th for Steam. Both the game and the deluxe edition will have a 20% week-long launch discount. The deluxe edition includes Mary Skelter Finale, the digital game, a character art collection, rough art collection, original soundtracks and art inlays, 10 PC wallpapers, 7 mobile wallpapers, and a PC theme. So if you're into those Mary Skelter games, the finale is coming out soon. You'll be able to wrap up that story and see what's next.
It's tomorrow. Well,
technically.
Not tomorrow. Technically, because it's after 12 here, but yeah, in like Tuesday.
Yeah, so this will be coming out Monday. So that the day after you listen to this, if you listen to this on release day, this game will be coming out.
Right. All right.
And that just leaves going through. If you would like to check us out over on the facebook.com/JRPG Report. You can find us over on Twitter, where I am much more active, or I guess it's X now, but I'm still going to call it Twitter. Everybody knows what I mean. At JRPG Report. If you'd like to support the show, that would mean the world to me. It really does. It helps me pay my insurance, and I need that, and I really appreciate it. Patreon.com/JRPG Report. And if you donate, you get your name read out on each and every episode, like these wonderful people: Jake W., Jordan K., Kularian, MasterLoot, and a new name, Japandi. I'm going to pronounce it like that because I don't want to call you Jap Andy. So I'm going to Japandi. And
Japandi, cool dude. I was talking to him on the Discord a little bit. He's a big Final Fantasy VIII fan.
Yeah, there needs to be more of us.
Yeah.
8's so good.
They need to fix that draw system in the remake. That's what they need to do. There, I said it. Hot take.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And also, if you would like to check us out over on the Steam Machine podcast, we are a bi-weekly PC gaming show. And right now we are playing through The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, which I know is not a JRPG report, so it might not tickle y'all's fancy, but we do play a good amount of JRPGs. We did just cover Trails in the Sky second chapter. If you guys would like to go and give that a listen, that'd be sweet. Bump those numbers up for me. It would be much appreciated.
And if I can get my act together and start Morrowind, I think I'm going to be on that episode.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. And speaking of you and doing things, go ahead and plug your stuff, my good sir.
Team Retro on YouTube, and if you want to talk to me in between podcasts and in between YouTube videos, you could find me in 2 places. 1, the Steam Machine Discord, and 2, the Retro Handhelds Discord. And both communities are absolutely amazing and have given me homes in their respective Discord communities, and I love you all for it.
We love you too, man. And I would like to say too that when you do join the Patreon for the JRPG Report, you do get welcomed into the JRPG Report Patreon town, which is just a Discord for the listeners that you guys can come in and hang out. When I created the Patreon, I asked some of the listeners that were like, been around since before I took over the show. I'm like, what would you guys like? And they were like, a Discord channel would be cool. So we can just, chat about games and keep in touch with one another, even if we don't talk every day. And I'm like, done. That's easy enough to do. So when you join the Patreon, I will DM you a link for the Discord and pop in and come say hello. But if you don't feel like, if you want to just get a smidgen of a taste, feel free to join the Steam Machine Podcast Discord, bit.ly/TSMP Discord, all capital letters. But be warned, not everything in there is family friendly. The JRPG Report Discord is family friendly.
I probably should have mentioned that I'm in there too. So.
Oh, yeah, but I just gave you access to that, so you're probably not used to it yet.
No, I do a little bit of talking in there. I think the last conversation before Final Fantasy VIII was with Kularian about Bluey, so... We're talking about family friendly. We're talking about JRPGs and toddler shows.
Yeah, you know. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me, my good sir. Until the next JRPG Report, which Tokyo Game Show is coming up relatively soon. I think it's in like 10 days or so. So we should have some pretty good news coming out of that. So there's going to be a big report coming at some point here soon. But until then, everyone do me and Mikhailov just the biggest favor. Get back out there and level up.